guys, it's Joshua Reviews. We're still continuing Halloween month, so let's just jump straight into it, shall we? So, here's the thing. I was already buried deep in the list of Halloween movies I was going to review this month. And out of the blue, Halloween movies they started getting announced. And one of them, the one we're going to be reviewing, was Night of the Harvest. So this one caught my eye. It looked really good. I thought it looked visually good in terms of a low budget slasher. It looked interesting. And even though I recognize that scarecrow mask they used on the cover and in the movie, because it's literally a scarecrow mask you can buy at Spirit Halloween and Walmart. Well, not Walmart, but stores. Yeah, this looked interesting. It looked creative. It looked fun. Of course, I was disappointed. I can never get what I want, can I? Okay, let's talk about the good, because there is good to be had in this movie. What little there is. First of all, I want to say that this film is fairly competent. I could see someone actually sitting down watching this and someone enjoying it. I could see someone watching this all the way through and having a good time, thinking that wasn't too bad. That was a decent little slasher. Okay, that was fine. So it's at least somewhat competent. I think the actors, for the most part, sell it. I think that the kills for a low-budget slasher are decent. There's some decent gore effects. I think, for the most part, it, has an interesting story, but we'll get there in a minute. And I think that the concept is pretty interesting. So let's talk about the negatives. So, what is it I always say about movies? If you guys, watch my content. I think, for some odd reason, movies just have a tendency to bore the shit out of me. At least the films I review. That's not to say if all films bore me. I think there's a lot of films. Honestly, I think a lot of films, most of the time, entertain me. Which is why I give movies such a higher grade than I probably should. But when it comes to these types of movies, I don't know what it is. They're just boring. And this film's no fucking exception. Now, that is not to say what was happening wasn't interesting or engaging. But in terms of the story and how it progresses, and the pacing is the issue. The pacing is dog shit. Scenes drag on way too long than I need to. Characters will literally repeat sentences that they've already said. They repeat sentences, that was a bug. They just repeat their lines. They repeat words, they repeat sentences. The plot almost feels like it grinds to a halt in certain areas because they literally are just kind of sitting there and just talking, which isn't a problem for me. I can handle that. But when it's for example, these two sisters, which are kind of the main characters of the film, they're talking about one of the sisters, tragic backstory, right? And they're saying, "Oh, I'm so sorry you went through that. Yeah, I know it was rough." And it's okay, that was established. She has a rough backstory. She got stabbed. That's pretty bad. Okay, we established that. And then they'll say, "Yeah, it was tough when I got stabbed." I know, you were stabbed. That's not what they actually say. I'm just kind of giving a shit example. They explain something and then they explain it again, and it just feels like we're just kind of okay, we're kind of taking our sweet time. Scenes easily could have been cut from this film, and I could see the film kind of moving. This movie's an hour and 47 minutes. It did not need to be this long. There could have been so many parts and areas where you could have trimmed or cut certain scenes. It made no sense. On top of that, while the story was interesting, it just kind of goes all over the place towards the middle, and then by the end, you're just like, okay, we're really dragging this along. Like, I'm not kidding. The villain at the end, which I won't spoil, but the villain at the end literally gives, literally, The Incredibles summed it up perfectly when Bob and Frozone are sitting in the car talking to each other, and Frozone's talking about one of the villains, and he talks about how he starts monologuing. And it's literally what the villain at the end of this film does. He starts monologuing. Oh, is it he? Oh, I spoiled a little part. But the villain starts monologuing, and I'm just like, just do what you're going to do if you're going to do it. Just kill the person if you're going to kill them. Don't say, oh, this is how I'm going to kill you. Just kill them. Hey, I'm not condoning violence. I'm just saying if you're going to do it, do it. In the context of the movie, don't take that out of context. But yeah, no, the specific things like that really annoyed the hell out of me. And not a lot happens in this movie. The basic plot is that this, it follows two sisters. One of them, got stabbed. I already mentioned that. And they get invited to their friend's Halloween party, which, by the way, I forgot her name, but I want to say she is probably the best character in the film. And this is a spoiler. She's the first one to go. She is the first one to go. She dies almost immediately. And of course, it was the most likable character. It's the one girl, if you do watch this movie, it's the girl who's dressed in the big pumpkin outfit. I really loved her energy and enthusiasm for the holiday, even though Halloween technically isn't a holiday, but we won't get into that. But she almost dies immediately. And I'm just like, oh boy, characters that I don't really know that much about. And that's the funny thing. This movie spends a lot of time with the characters, but I still don't know jack shit about them. So what does that tell you? And on top of this film being shot well and decently edited, there are still some areas where I can tell it's low. Obviously it's a low budget movie, but some of the sound mixing doesn't sound quite right, and certain sound effects I feel like are missing. Like someone will punch like a character will punch another character, but there won't be like any punch sound effect, and then literally that character will get stabbed, and there will be a sound effect. So it's like, okay, you can add a sound effect where the character gets stabbed but not getting punched. That doesn't make a lot of sense. So I felt like there were certain sound choices that just didn't add up. On top of that, this it's just another one of those films that you find on Tubi, and you're just like, oh, it's a Halloween movie, I guess. I'll watch it. And then you're like, yeah, that was, I'll never watch it again. And oh my God, the twist at the end is interesting, but it doesn't go anywhere. All the characters that I liked died, and for most of the movie, without spoiling anything specifically, you're following these characters that you just really don't care for, but the movie almost tries to get you to root for them at some certain points, which I really didn't. Like, they really they spent a lot of time with these two characters, and I'm just like, I don't care about them. Now, I'm not talking about it. Now, I'm not talking about, I'm not talking... Okay, you spend a lot of time with the two antagonists, because believe it or not, there's two antagonists. You spend a lot of time with the two antagonists of the film, and the movie really tries to make you spend time with these characters. Like, oh, they try to justify their actions. Like, nope, I don't agree with that. Oh, we're spending more time with them? Oh, fucking great. On top of that, the two characters I do give a shit about, the film just really chooses to kind of not spend time with them, so that's great. This film wasn't awful, but it left me disappointed in the end, and I thought it was going to be about a haunted maze, scarecrow killer. It wasn't really about that. Also, another thing I want to briefly mention before I get my final grade or rating. The antagonists go on to explain why they're doing it, but they never go like actually in depth as to why. And on top of that, we never find out as the audience watching the film what happens if they fail to do, they can't like I want to spoil it, but they were trying to, they were justifying their murder. This is why I need to script my reviews, but this is an unscripted review, so bear with me, guys. They are trying to justify their actions by I'm just gonna fucking say it. They are trying to justify the killing spree they're going on because they say if we don't perform this ritual in time, we will die. But we never get to see that. It's not like in Ready or Not where it's like, the family has to kill the wife or, otherwise the whole family will die. And then at the very end, you find out whether or not that happens or not. It's not like that. You never get, any sort of, you never get any payoff, is what I'm trying to say. I'm going to give this movie a D. Had some decent scenes, a few likable characters, but the movie really doesn't choose to focus that much time. It doesn't spend a lot of time with them. And it just left me really disappointed. And it's way too long. But by all means, watch it. You might like it. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe I'm just dumb. Are you dumb? Yes, you are.